Okay, the name of the game today is error detection. So this is a counterpoint with several errors in it. And for our purposes today, assume that the top line was given, meaning we cannot change the top line. So we're only going to be able to make changes to fix the problems by altering the baseline. So take a look at this, pause the video, and find all the errors and come up with ways to correct the problem. And when you come back, we'll address them and see how we can fix them. All right, welcome back. So the first and possibly most egregious error in this entire example is the opening, where we have parallel octaves. Notice they're labeled properly, C to C, or C to D, and then C to D. So we cannot have parallel octaves in this style, nor parallel fifths for that matter. So we need to fix this issue. So remember, we have other choices. We don't have to go to an octave for this second interval. So where can we go? Well, remember the top line was given. So if we go to a fifth below this given D, we have a G. So let's change this note to a G. So C going to G gives us now the interval of a fifth, octave going to a fifth. That works out a lot nicer. Definitely more preferable than having the parallel octaves there. Now notice this does create a bit of a skippy bass in that it's skipping down and then skipping back up. That's okay. Remember, our bass line tends to be a little more skippy than the given soprano line. And bass lines in general tend to be a little more skippy. So that's okay. We don't want to be entirely skips, but occasional skip is okay, especially if those skips are between, in this case, scale degree 1, dropping down to scale degree 5. This is a very common interval that you'll see, especially in a bass line, going from do down to so. So I think that's okay, and it's a good way to avoid the parallel octaves in the opening here. Moving along, you'll see we have a diminished fifth resolving to a third. This is handled properly, so no errors there. Moving along, we have our parallel third motion, which is fine. Then we run into our second problem. Second problem here is actually twofold. One, notice the bass line is staying on the same note, so that creates oblique motion, which we don't allow in this style. And two, this interval is not labeled properly. This interval is actually a fourth, a perfect fourth. Perfect fourths aren't allowed in this style, as you may recall. So two issues we need to fix here. Luckily, there's a very easy solution to fix it in this case. Notice we've had thirds going on, and there's a third after it. And the top line is stepping up by step. Notice that all we need to do is change this D to an E, which gives us a third. And now we have parallel third motion all through there. Moving on, we notice we have an octave in the next to last measure, going to what is purporting to be a fifth, but not really a fifth. Right? Notice the interval from B to E is actually another fourth. This is another fourth that's jumped in and is hiding because the interval was labeled incorrectly. So, what if we actually made that a fifth? Take this B down to A. So, and notice before when it was a B, that also we had oblique motion here in the bass. So again, that's not allowed. But again, a quick and easy fix, just move that B down to A, and all of a sudden we have really nice stepwise motion in the bass that very nicely complements the rising line and then creates a bit of a contrasting motion into the end. Let's listen to what this sounds like now that we've got it all fixed and tidied up. Notice other things here that we managed to include one of our special dissonances. Always try to include these. These are nice because they're allowed and it adds a little bit of contrast to your counterpoint. And it's nice to get away from just the thirds and the sixths and the octaves and the fifths. Also notice that I'm using parallel perfect intervals very sparingly here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Again, that might be sort of the upper limit of the allowable perfect intervals in your exercise. There's nothing saying that that's not allowed, but we want to keep the majority of our intervals either thirds, sixth, and then that also includes our dissonances as well. So that's a quick little error detection exercise. The important thing to remember is to label your intervals correctly. You can very easily convince yourself that you've got good interval writing just because you've written the wrong number, but you have a different interval actually there between the notes. So be very careful when you're labeling your intervals, because if the labels are correct, that is a quick way to check to make sure you're not writing parallel fifths or octaves or accidentally writing a fourth when you didn't mean to. So please just double check your intervals, and that will help save a lot of headaches in the future.